What happens when one of television's most respected talk show hosts comes face to face with royalty who refuses to play by the rules? In just 12 seconds, a single comment would ignite the most shocking meltdown ever caught on live television, turning an exclusive interview into an explosive confrontation that ended with a prince being escorted off set. This is the untold story of how Andy Cohen's late-night show became ground zero for the most dramatic celebrity clash of the year, and why sometimes even royalty can't get away with bad behavior. Last night, viewers witnessed something unprecedented. The usually composed Andy Cohen, known for his ability to handle even the most difficult guests with grace and professionalism, reached his breaking point during what was supposed to be a friendly chat with Prince Harry. What started as an exclusive opportunity for the prince to share his side of recent controversies quickly devolved into a heated exchange that left studio audiences gasping and social media exploding with reactions. The evening began with all the fanfare you'd expect from such a high-profile booking. Cohen, dressed in his signature casual yet polished style, greeted his guests with genuine warmth and enthusiasm. Prince Harry, appearing relaxed in an open-collared shirt and blazer, settled into the plush interview chair with what seemed like confidence. The lighting was perfect, the cameras were rolling, and everything appeared set for another memorable episode of late-night television. "Welcome to the show," Cohen began with his trademark smile. "We're absolutely thrilled to have you here tonight. I know our viewers have been looking forward to this conversation." Prince Harry nodded, adjusting himself in the chair. "Happy to be here, Andy. Though I have to say, I'm not sure what all the fuss is about. People seem to think I have some grand revelations to share." Already, there was a subtle tension in the air. Cohen, ever the professional, pressed forward with his carefully prepared questions. "Well, there's certainly been a lot of speculation about your recent projects and your feelings about family dynamics. Can you help us understand your perspective?" The prince's response would be the first sign of trouble. "Look, I think people need to understand that I don't owe anyone explanations about my choices. I've lived my life in the public eye since birth, and frankly, I'm tired of having to justify every decision I make." Cohen maintained his composure, but viewers could see a slight shift in his expression. "Of course, but when you choose to speak publicly about personal matters, doesn't that invite some level of scrutiny and follow-up questions?" "That's exactly the problem," Harry replied, his voice taking on an edge. "Everyone thinks they have a right to dissect my words, my actions, my family relationships. Maybe the real issue is that people can't handle hearing the truth about how things really work." The studio audience remained quiet, sensing the growing tension between host and guest. Cohen, known for his quick wit and ability to navigate difficult conversations, tried a different approach. "I think our viewers would appreciate understanding your journey and the decisions that led you to where you are today." "My journey?" Prince Harry scoffed. "Andy, with all due respect, I don't think you or your viewers could possibly understand what it's like to grow up knowing that your entire life is predetermined, that every move you make will be analyzed and criticized. You sit here in your comfortable studio asking questions like you're entitled to intimate details of my life." The comment hung in the air like a challenge. Cohen's expression hardened slightly, though he maintained his professional demeanor. "I understand that your experiences have been unique, but isn't sharing those experiences part of why you agreed to this interview?" "I agreed to come on because I thought this would be different," Harry shot back. "But it's the same old story. Everyone wants to poke and prod and get their sound bites. You know what? Maybe I should just leave right now and save us both the trouble." Cohen leaned forward slightly, his voice remaining steady but firm. "Nobody's forcing you to be here, but if you are going to stay, then let's have an honest conversation. That's what this show is about." The prince's response would mark the point of no return. "Honest? You want honest? Fine. I think this whole setup is beneath me. I'm doing you a favor by being here, and instead of showing proper respect, you're treating me like any other celebrity guest. Do you have any idea who you're talking to?" The words hit Cohen like a slap. His years of experience interviewing A-list celebrities, politicians, and cultural icons had prepared him for difficult guests. But this level of entitlement was something entirely different. The host's jaw tightened as he processed what he'd just heard. "I know exactly who I'm talking to," Cohen replied, his voice calm but carrying unmistakable authority. "I'm talking to a guest on my show who seems to have forgotten that respect goes both ways." The studio fell silent as Cohen's words settled over the set like a heavy blanket. Camera operators exchanged glances, unsure whether to keep rolling or cut away. Prince Harry's face flushed red, clearly not expecting such a direct response from his host. "Excuse me?" Harry said, his voice rising in disbelief. "Did you just lecture me about respect? Do you know what I've sacrificed? What I've given up? I've been fighting for causes that actually matter, while people like you sit here making entertainment out of other people's pain." Cohen's composure began to crack, but his voice remained controlled. "I've been doing this job for years, and I've interviewed everyone from presidents to pop stars. Every single one of them understood that when you sit in that chair, you're here to engage in conversation, not to talk down to people." "Talk down?" Prince Harry laughed bitterly. "Andy, I'm simply stating facts. I have responsibilities and commitments that extend far beyond this little show of yours. Maybe you should be grateful that someone of my stature even bothered to show up." The audience began to murmur, clearly uncomfortable with the direction of the conversation. Cohen raised his hand slightly, signaling for quiet, his eyes never leaving his guest's face. "Let me be very clear about something," Cohen said, his tone shifting to something harder, more authoritative. "This show has welcomed world leaders, Nobel Prize winners, and yes, even royalty. Not once has anyone suggested that appearing here was doing me a favor. That's not how this works." Prince Harry stood up abruptly, his chair rolling back slightly. "Well, maybe that's because they understood protocol better than you do. I came here expecting a certain level of deference, and instead I'm getting interrogated like some common criminal." "Deference?" Cohen repeated, also rising to his feet. "This is a talk show, not a royal court. When you agree to an interview, you agree to answer questions. That's literally the entire point." The prince began pacing slightly, his agitation visible to everyone in the studio. "You clearly don't understand the position you've put me in. I have obligations, expectations from my team, from my family. I can't just sit here and let you make me look foolish on national television." "Nobody is trying to make you look foolish," Cohen replied firmly. "But I'm not going to pretend that you're doing me some enormous favor by being here. This is supposed to be a conversation between equals." "Equals?" Prince Harry stopped pacing and stared directly at Cohen. "Andy, we are not equals. I don't mean that as an insult, but it's simply reality. I was born into a role that carries weight and responsibility that you couldn't possibly comprehend." The host's patience finally reached its limit. His voice remained steady, but there was steel beneath the surface now. "You know what? You're absolutely right. We're not equals, because I would never treat a guest in my home the way you're treating me in mine." Prince Harry's mouth fell open slightly, clearly shocked by the response. "Your home? This is a television studio, Andy. Let's not get carried away with delusions of grandeur. This studio, this show, these are my professional spaces," Cohen said, stepping closer to his guest. "And in my professional space, everyone gets treated with dignity and respect, regardless of their title or background. But that courtesy extends both ways." The prince's voice took on a threatening tone. "Are you threatening me? Do you realize what kind of position that puts you in? Do you understand the consequences of disrespecting someone in my position?" Cohen's response was immediate and unwavering. "The only consequence I'm concerned about is maintaining the integrity of this show and treating our audience with respect. And right now, you're failing to do either." "That's it," Prince Harry said, throwing his hands up. "I don't have to sit here and listen to this from someone who clearly doesn't understand proper protocol. This interview is over." "Actually," Cohen said calmly, "you're right. This interview is over. But not because you're walking away. Because I'm asking you to leave." The words hit the studio like a thunderbolt. Production assistants froze in place, cameras continued rolling, and the audience sat in stunned silence. Prince Harry stood motionless, apparently unable to process what he'd just heard. "I'm sorry, what did you just say?" the prince asked quietly. Cohen's voice was clear and firm. "I said you need to leave. This is my show, and I'm not going to let anyone, regardless of their title, treat this space or these people with disrespect." Prince Harry's face went through a range of emotions: shock, anger, disbelief. "You're kicking me off your show? Do you have any idea what this means? Do you understand the implications of what you're doing?" "I understand perfectly," Cohen replied without hesitation. "I'm choosing to maintain standards rather than let someone's sense of entitlement override basic human decency." The prince looked around the studio as if expecting someone to intervene, to tell him this was all some kind of misunderstanding. When no help came, his expression hardened into something cold and bitter. "This is a mistake, Andy, a huge mistake that you're going to regret." Cohen shook his head slowly. "The only mistake here was thinking that common courtesy was too much to ask for." Security personnel appeared at the edges of the set, not menacingly, but clearly present and ready to assist if needed. Prince Harry noticed them, and his jaw tightened further. "Fine," he said finally. "But don't expect this to end here. There will be consequences for this humiliation." "The only humiliation here is self-inflicted," Cohen replied steadily. You always have the choice to conduct yourself with grace. As Prince Harry gathered himself and began walking toward the exit, the cameras captured every moment of his departure. The studio remained eerily quiet until the sound of the exit door closing echoed through the space. Cohen stood alone on his set, took a deep breath, and turned to face his audience with the same professionalism he'd maintained throughout the entire confrontation.